Hello and welcome to a brand new Mind Mastery video. Today I'm going to talk about the relationship between language and our experience. So we know that language in the general sense has a purpose of communicating our ideas, communicating our needs, our feelings, what we think, what we believe in. So generally language exists because we want to extract the meaning from our experience and communicate it. So we can describe what is happening around us, what is happening to us, and we can communicate it to other people, but also to ourselves, so that our own experience can make sense to us. Now, language doesn't only have this external function where we can talk to other people, where we can describe various things, where we can extract the meaning from the experience, but it's also evident on the internal level, where we talk to ourselves, when we have this internal dialogue, right? When we have various thoughts, various ideas, various opinions. And I'm not saying that this is all that exists, because we also have this kind of non-verbal level, where we might think in terms of various images, or feelings, or impressions, or sounds maybe even. But language has this special function that kind of gives structure to all this, right? It enables us to make sense of what is happening. It enables us to understand ourselves, other people, what we are doing, what is happening to us. It enables us to know where we are and what the particular purpose of this context is, right? Or what's the purpose of this and that object, because we can describe it, we can understand it. And it's a kind of debate like, what would happen if we didn't have a language in the first place? We still have this photographic memory where we can think of in terms of various images, but would it really be the same as using language? So when something happens to us, where we experience something, we're going to use language to make sense of it. For example, I'm sitting in this spot and I'm recording this video. So I know what's happening, I can communicate it, and by using words that are evident in the English language, you can understand what I'm saying, right? So we can see that language is a universal thing. Of course, there are many different languages, and they will kind of determine how people think, depending on what sort of language they use. But generally, it's a universal thing. So I'm using words that other people can understand. I'm not making up things. And because I can put these words in a specific order, you can understand what I'm saying. So language kind of determines not only how we communicate, but how we think. Because as I said before, it's also evident on this internal level where we kind of talk to ourselves, right? Having this internal dialogue, kind of thinking, what am I going to do next? What is happening to me? What am I feeling? And we keep talking to ourselves to kind of perhaps make sense of our experience, to organize our thoughts, right? There is a purpose to that, and it's a very important one. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing that. So we can see that the language has many different functions. It enables us to make sense of our experience. It enables us to organize our thoughts. It kind of determines how we think in the first place, right? And it helps us to kind of extract the meaning from the experience itself. So when we experience something, we use language to describe it, to make sense of it, to extract meaning from it. But there's a question, what if our language, the language that we are using, doesn't have a description, doesn't have a word describing a specific experience or a specific feeling? What do we do then? For example, there are names of feelings that exist in German language, in Greek language, or in Portuguese language, but that don't exist in English language. So does it mean that native English speakers don't experience these feelings? I don't think that's the case at all. But I think that since humans use language as a primary tool for organizing their experiences, I think we might come to ignore these experiences. I think these non-verbal experiences that we can't describe, that we don't have words for, they're going to pass unnoticed unless we decide to pay attention to these feelings, unless we decide to pay attention to these experiences that are kind of empty and perhaps even devoid of meaning because we can't describe them. So they might be sort of like blank experiences where we feel something, where we perceive something, where we sense something, but if we don't have a name for it, if we don't have a description for it, we won't be able to describe it. So that kind of leads me to an idea where I think it's kind of useful thing to pay attention to how we make sense of our experience, how we describe our experience, because we might unintentionally rob ourselves of the opportunity to experience more, to dive deeper into our experiences, because we don't have descriptions. We don't know how to make sense of it. And it doesn't only mean that there are no English words, for example, describing these experiences, but it might relate to a fact where we don't pay attention to how we describe our experiences, how we make sense of them, right? Because if we are used to kind of not going deeper into our experience, but simply giving simple descriptions, then we might end up in a situation where our life might seem like being devoid of meaning because we don't describe, because we don't produce this meaning, we don't extract the meaning from the experience itself either, because we don't use language as much as we could. This is just an idea, because obviously there's a very important connection between our language and experience. So what we experience and how we describe it. To help us understand further this interesting relationship between language and our experience, I think that what happens is that we have this whole non-verbal level where we experience different sensations and feelings, but then we use language to extract meaning from this non-verbal level. And it depends on our ability, our language abilities, and our willingness to actually put an effort to make sense of these experiences, how much meaning we're going to extract. So how much things are going to make sense to us, how much things are going to seem like they have a purpose. And it doesn't relate obviously to just the physical world, if you will, but to our ideas, our feelings, our relationships with other people. So anything that simply exists as either physical object or the ideal object. So we extract these meanings, we use language, but if our language is not sophisticated enough to describe what is happening, we're going to be missing on certain experiences. And I'm not saying that language is necessary to accessing this non-verbal level. I think we all start from the non-verbal position, but then the society kind of train us to not pay attention to the non-verbal anymore. But I do believe that we all start from this non-verbal position where we experience world through our senses, through our insight, direct insight, kind of intuition, and feelings and emotions and various impressions and images. And only then we use language to make sense of that experience, to organize this experience, to organize this data that we collect through a direct interaction with the world around us. And I think that, generally it's a kind of accepted fact that the language level, the verbal level, is the preferable one. And it might kind of prevent us from going into this non-verbal level to kind of dive into this non-verbal level and extract more meaning, and extract more purpose, more things, more objects that can expand our experience, that can expand our ability to witness the world, to witness ourselves, to witness our people. And we can access this non-verbal level, for example, simply in silence or through meditation, if you will. Anything that can enable us to shut down the internal dialogue for a while, at least for a while, if we are able to. So, paying attention to this relationship between how we experience things and how we make sense of these experiences, I think is quite crucial to understanding ourselves, understanding who we are, understanding the world around us, and kind of even enriching our experience, enriching our lives, because then the more we describe, the more we make sense of our experience, the more effort we put into kind of understanding and making sense of what is happening to us and around us, it's gonna enrich our life. It's gonna enrich our experience and bring us more purpose, more meaning, so that we feel like we simply will belong and that there is a purpose to all that. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you for your continuous support. See you next time.